You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right. Welcome back. Wow, two great interviews tonight, I thought. And next up, we've got the Edgar County Watchdogs. Those guys are always good, always informative, and always local. We've got a lot of good local stuff to talk about. We're going to start with John Kraft. He's going to give us the update on Dolton and Tiffany Henyard. It sounds like, John, maybe things are moving in the right direction in an indictment towards her, or the feds are looking at her, or what's going on?
Well, who knows?
Okay.
Thanks for having us on. Thanks for having us on again. The most recent going on in Dolton is I just got a message a little while ago that said the Dolton Police Department, they have a jail in Dolton. They cannot purchase food at McDonald's anymore for the inmates because McDonald's cut them off because they can't pay their bill.
Oh my gosh! They can't afford a Happy Meal?
No. So Dolton is broke. How they're making payroll, I don't have a clue, but they just got sued again a couple of days ago by a guy that used to work at the fire department because they didn't pay. Well, no, that's a different one. So the guy that used to work the fire department sued them also, and I'll get to the main article here in a little bit, because they wouldn't pay the insurance for the fire employees, and they wouldn't pay the retirement for the fire employees, and the pension account was missing 13 payments out of a 25 payment period.
How is this not shut down at this point? Literally, how is the village not actually taken over by the state?
The thing was, he was union, and they fired him because he spoke up. So now he's suing them. I don't know what it's going to take for them to be taken over, but another lawsuit was filed complaining that Henyard, this deals with Thornton Township, claiming that Henyard and Keith Freeman, both of them work for the village and the township, tried to take over the Thornton Township Board of School Trustees by, number one, this guy that filed a complaint was a 20-year employee for the township. He ran as a trustee, got elected, and we knew this as soon as he got elected. We were hearing all these stories, and we confirmed them, that Henyard and Freeman and the attorney that recently quit, I think it's Delgado firm, were trying to arm twist this guy into terminating the attorney for the school board trustees and terminating the treasurer and appointing Delgado and another person that Henyard handpicked. And they even gave him a $10,000 pay raise, and he wouldn't go along with it, so he ended up being terminated too.
But at this time, the bills aren't being paid, services are not being rendered. I don't know. I mean, there's way too much going on here for the state not to step in, but of course they're not.
Well, I mean, and when they do, I'm sure it'll be all at once. Who knows? I don't know. I don't profess to know how long it takes to do these investigations or even what they're finding. If they're finding even a portion of what we've complained about, then I have all the confidence in the world that she will be indicted. But until that happens, it's up in the air. I mean,
yeah. Well,
how long
it's just sad. I mean, these poor people. I mean, they just probably had to pay their property taxes are through the roof, and fees and everything else, and the city's not run at all.
No, and then she just did a deposition in a civil suit and disowned everything. She knows nothing about anything going on. She knows nothing about what bills are paid. She knows nothing about what invoices are coming in.
She doesn't run meetings. She doesn't run meetings. She blocks people from the meetings.
She's just the mayor. It has nothing to do with the day-to-day operations. Don't know who gets contracts and who doesn't. We know that's all bull.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just shocked at how much leeway that the state itself and the attorney general have given her in this case, and I just don't understand why even the state's attorney isn't all over this, protecting people down there. I mean, this is really bad.
There is some good news. The Attorney General's Public Access Council has basically weighed in on the special meetings that the good trustees hold at the park district that is within Dolton, and has said that those are legitimate meetings, and those meetings do not violate the Open Meetings Act because the majority of the board calls the meetings and they hold them within the village corporate limits, and the mayor is not prohibited from attending. As a matter of fact, they invite her to attend. They publish an agenda, and they do everything they want. She tried to say hiring Lori Lightfoot violated the Open Meetings Act. The AG said it most certainly did not. And the same goes with all these other actions the four good trustees are taking at the special meetings they're holding at the Dolton Park District.
Well, I mean, if Lightfoot was any good here, honestly, she's been hired for probably a month or two almost already. If she was any good now here, and if she's got all the connections, she knows how to work the system. She's a lawyer herself. I don't know why this isn't shut down right now. I just don't understand why this isn't shut down right now, given everything that's been found out.
I don't know. Maybe they have to go completely broke before anybody steps in, before anybody at state level steps in.
No, it's just ridiculous. They're slow walking this, and it's unbelievable because she's been getting away with this for going on 3 years now, and they tried to recall her, and that didn't work. Well,
there's a lot of issues behind that recall. They did too many things.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying, though, John. Enough at this point. I mean, they've got plenty of evidence to show what she's doing. There's plenty of people, the trustees themselves, who are down there, and it's still the inaction is action, and it's not the right kind.
I know. Hopefully, it'll pick up shortly. But cross our finger.
Okay, hey, we're gonna go to a break right now, and we will be right back with Kirk to talk about the Kansas water situation.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeanne Ives.
Okay, welcome back. This is a story that I am not going to let go of. I will continue to write about it. And it's a story that Kirk Allen is very familiar with. So, Kirk, last week I wrote in my newsletter about the Kansas water grant that they got from the state, and it was one of 32 grants that went to communities around rural Illinois. In total, $41 million was spent, and on average, they got $1.3 million per community to fix water and sewer problems. And I noticed that Kansas, Illinois got one of these water grants, and we kind of talked about this before, but I wanted to just kind of go more in depth about it right now because, in Illinois, to the Democrats, in fact, they wrote it into law. Abortion is a fundamental right in the state of Illinois. But guess what? Safe water and affordable water coming out of your tap is not a fundamental right in the state of Illinois. It's not a fundamental right because we have thousands of Illinoisans who do not have safe and affordable drinking water. What do you say?
Well, I think you nailed it. We've been fighting this water problem, and again, thanks for having us on tonight. We've been fighting this problem for years down here, and I went to the village meeting last week, and to my surprise, the engineer that's managing this project was present and gave his little presentation, and I got to ask a few questions. And if you understand the layout of Kansas, our current water tower is pretty much in the center of town. their plan, when I asked where you're going to put it, the engineer was like, well, I think it was down by the water plants where you wanted it. The city council had no clue where they wanted it per se. It was that's just kind of where they picked to put it, with no forethought at all to where and the impact that location would have on the rest of the town. They're literally going to put it at the south end of town, which is the lowest end of town, which is going to affect water pressure. I already have a problem at the north end of town. So it was shocking to see nobody really knew anything. And then when we talked about the new height of it, it's another 20 feet high, so you're going to get an additional 10 pounds of pressure. And the engineer admitted that is going to be problems with old water mains, because when you add more pressure to a system that's been installed in 1914, you're going to have blowouts. So, hey, we're getting a new water tower. We're going to have more pressure, and we're going to blow out water mains. So maybe that's how they're going to force the replacement of water mains, which is our main problem. I've never seen a project that's literally being built from the sky down versus the ground up.
Well, I mean, this is a problem for me. It should be for taxpayers. First of all, $1.3 million is not enough to do justice for a project that size. Second of all, they've been living this way for decades. Third, if you had signed up for my newsletter, and in fact, the article should be up. I know Prairie State Wire wrote it, but I'm also going to put it on my website. But I mean, the pictures that you sent me of the brown, disgusting water, plus there's an entire Facebook group that's dedicated to just talking about the water that comes out of the taps in Kansas, Illinois. Nobody should have to live this way.
Well, it gets even worse because the engineer raised the question of where are you guys at on your lead service line inspection.
Oh,
no. The state passed a law that gave deadlines. In fact, it was passed back in 2017, and it gave key deadlines that had to be put in place so that these lead connections were identified. Well, now they're asking the engineer to apply for a grant so that they can pay someone to do this. The deadline was April of 24. So we still haven't complied with our lead service connection inspection.
And that's just the inspection.
And we know.
Right.
Correct. That's not even the replacement. We know we have lead water line or lead connections throughout this community. We know that for a fact, that they've not done their inventory. They've not complied with the law. And unfortunately, I understand small communities and folks a lot of times don't know what they're doing. We've got to do a better job across the board educating and funding these type of things on these communities. I mean, it's terrible. I sat in that meeting and I was in shock of literally nobody knew anything about what really needed to be done or how it's going to get done. And that's scary when you think about it. You saw the pictures I sent you, Jeannie.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable to see some of this water.
It's frightening. And if they don't have the expertise and they don't have the money, but they have people living in those communities, guess what? Those communities need to be supported, and they need to be supported more so than all this other hundreds of millions of dollars going to a bunch of private nonprofits for you name it. Just, I don't know. What is Peace Runners, Garfield Park Baseball League, Peace Runners of Garfield Park, Root History Institute, Boys and Girls Club of Central Illinois, Little Angels, Floating Museum. What the hell? The Black Fire Brigade, $1.3 million. That's the same amount that you're getting for your water system. I mean, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars for private entities that, honestly, are doing things that fathers and mothers ought to be doing. And other community organizations. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and people don't have clean, affordable drinking water, and nobody is handling this. We're going to be right back with Kirk. Can we take a pause here? We're going to be right back to finish up the conversation. Bet. Okay. All right. Welcome back. Still on the line with me are Kirk Allen and John Kraft, Edgar County Watchdogs. And Kirk and I were having this conversation still about, these minuscule grants, the de minimis amount compared to the $53 billion budget that Pritzker signed. He then sends $41 million to 32 communities to share to help with water and sewage problems. I mean, give me a break. So Kirk, what is the issue? I mean, look, to some degree, municipalities need to maintain their systems, and they need to tax their people appropriately to maintain those systems. And up here, that's kind of what happens. I mean, the DuPage Water Commission is going to build its own line its own pipeline from Michigan, Lake Michigan, to service the people in DuPage County so they can cut out Chicago because they're worried about Chicago's water rates increasing to pay off all their other debts that they have. And so they want to control their water themselves. I mean, that takes a high level of sophistication to do a large scale project like that. I think it's going to be at least $1 billion. I get it. There's a lot of communities that will benefit from it. But down there, it doesn't matter. You should have a fundamental right to clean water. And
I tell you, I think part of the problem, and there's a lot of different problems. The biggest one over the years, it's not been maintained. But in small communities, everybody that gets elected, including the mayor, they're part-time. Most of them work a full-time job. They have a meeting a month, and there's no oversight with the one or two people they might hire to manage a water system. And I think we're on pretty sure it's our fourth guy in the last 4.5 years. And through that process, nothing got maintained. They burned up pumps. They literally were not doing any maintenance. So what little money they had stockpiled literally had to go to replace all kinds of things just in the facility to pump the water. So whatever infrastructure needed to be done, that's all on the back burner now because all the money got spent elsewhere. There's no oversight with these local employees. I mean, we see a lot of times in these small communities, they're driving around doing nothing most of the time because the boss is out of town working somewhere. They don't work in these small communities. They work in a neighboring city somewhere, and that's part of what's happened here. And I don't understand how even the engineers aren't saying, hey, you start from the ground up. And EPA, they need to have a serious wake-up call because when they test the water here, they're testing it down at the plant. They're not testing it at somebody's tap. So they go down to the plant, they run a test, or the maintenance guys, they do a water test, send it in. Hey, we got clean water. Yep, you do. You got clean water coming out of the plant. But start testing it in people's homes. And they're not doing that. And until they start doing at least that to find out where the real problem is. But the argument is, well, we don't have the manpower or the finances to hire somebody, to do that kind of a study to see where it is. I mean, it's literally ridiculous.
There's just okay. Honestly, though, if you can't find the expertise in a small rural community, what population 800 or something, right? You go to the next level,
Correct.
And the next level, the county, the state, and they got to solve this right now and stop funding these nonprofits that are doing nothing. Okay, that's it for the show tonight. Thanks a lot for joining me on The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. We will talk to you next week.
Thank you, Jeannie.